So again, I find myself drawn back to a game I played on my Wednesday stream, and again, it's a Souls-like in which you play a cute animal. Guess we found the winning formula. Maybe I could finish Elden Ring at last if I were to mod the main character into Hello Kitty. Our subject is Nine Souls. Souls without the U, mind, no copycats here, which comes to us from Red Candle Games, who you might recall got into the shit, or perhaps I should say, the poo, with the Chinese government over their last game, and perhaps as a result decided to play a bit safer with their new one. We're making a 2D cartoon platformer about a cute little jumpy cat dude hanging out with all their animal pals of varying species. Well, as long as you avoid depicting anyone as a yellow bear in a red shirt, that's probably for the best, Red Candle Games. Tell me more about your cute animal game. Well, the protagonist has to murder all their adorable animal friends because they form the governing committee of a techno-fascist failed utopia. Okay, tell me less about your cute animal game. I was taking the piss, but I think Nine Souls took that advice anyway, because on the outset the story doesn't tell you shit. All you know is that the main character, Yi, named after the sound my wife makes when I pinch her bum, gets thrown off a cliff and is nursed back to health amid a village of friendly primitive humans who seem to live entirely peaceful and contented lives. So I, of course, was waiting for the inevitable next bit where the fucking Mongols or whatever sweep through and set fire to the place, and to my surprise, that didn't happen, really. Instead, we discover we're on a gigantic space station, where the humans are being farmed for their meat or something, and Yi is a sort of stoic badass super warrior cat, who at one point may have been part of the station's government, but who now has to go around assassinating the rest of the party members so he can take over the station, possibly as a means to save the primitive humans, or possibly for mysterious reasons of his own. Yi's an intriguingly complex character, whom we learn about piece by piece through the course of the game. At first he seems like a relatively stock anime emotionally subdued badass type, with a secret heart of gold and commitment to justice that makes him want to protect the humans, but every now and again he does something incredibly ruthless and horrible. Feels like we're playing as Ori from Ori and the Blind Forest, after he grew out of his hippie naturist phase and went to business school. Ah yes, Ori and the Blind Forest, that's a good game to bring up, it being one of many 2D action Metroidvanias Nine Souls takes influence from. Hollow Knight, there's an even better one. In fact, if you want the quick, asshole, smug, dismissive, comparison-based summary, Hollow Knight was to Dark Souls what Nine Souls is to Sekiro, by which I mean it's a cartoon 2D version of an aggressively parry-focused combat system. Parrying's the only game in town. It's parry Goldwater, it's the people versus parry Flint, etc. Just as well, really, because dodging's only so useful when you're a tiny fluffy kitten in pyjamas and the boss you're fighting is swinging a poleaxe the size of a very inefficiently designed lamppost. And the hand-drawn animation is all very nice, but apparently they couldn't always be asked to draw turning around animations. So every now and again you'll dodge through a guy to avoid his hit and he'll just instantly flip left to right like a sufficiently bribed politician with a weather vane up his arse. So yeah, on the whole, best to stick with parry and the Hendersons. Not only does it reliably cancel damage, it also refills your talisman power, a fairly unique mechanic in which Yi runs past a dude, slaps a post-it note onto them reading I owe you one ass kicking, and then a second later their heart explodes from the anticipation, I guess. It's initially awkward to use because you need to keep the button held down till the payoff, so instead of walking away from the explosion with your back turned like a cool guy, you have to awkwardly hang around the crime scene for a bit, asking if anyone knows where the bathroom is. But then about halfway through the game I unlocked an ability that would make the talismans explode automatically, and with that the combat clicked. Cool guy explosion walk away was back on. That's when it started feeling like anime combat, where the hero sweeps past the bad guy and it looks like he missed, and the bad guy's standing there looking confused, but then, bad guy's head falls off while the hero's across the room feigning interest in a vending machine or whatever. So on the whole, the core combat works pretty well for me. The occasionally low frame rate of the animation fucks with the parry timing a bit, but nothing you can't learn to compensate for. Honestly, what kept it fun was much the same as what kept Another Crab's Treasure fun, that it wasn't as crushingly hard as many Souls-likes feels like they need to be these days. As I say, it did take time for the combat to fully click, but when it did, some of the fucking standard enemies were more of a challenge than some of the boss fights, because they'd jump out the bushes going, parry time, think fast, and I'd be like, fellas, I'm just trying to get to the bus stop. Having said that, there was a point towards the end where the boss fights did start extracting more than the regulation amount of piss, starting with the big teddy bear lady in the fucked up dream world setting that made me go, oh, I've just remembered these guys used to make surreal horror games, because this was where the bosses started pulling out the surprise second and third phases. One of my personal pet hates in Souls-likes. I mean, what's the fucking point of a health bar if emptying it doesn't mean you're finished? It's like finally paying off your student loans, and then the bank says, oh, sorry, there's another set of student loans we didn't tell you about, and these ones are bigger and you have to pay them off with your head stuck in a box of crabs. You really killed my good mood, asshole. I had a holiday booked. Alright, I've had my moan. There's no denying that Nine Souls kept pulling me back. For all its late game difficulty spikes and slightly awkward interface, the combat and exploration were stimulating enough, but I think the story was the main draw. I liked piecing together the fucked up background of this strange opulence that surrounded me, the hideous machinations of the boss characters masking their deeply flawed humanity, and I liked Yi. Mostly I liked playing a game along these lines where the main character is not a clueless musclehead or literal corpse being wound up and sent on a rampage at the behest of powers beyond their understanding. I liked that Yi had his own agenda we weren't sure of, opinions on things. I liked that he had a nice apartment set up in a cozy little corner of the map to underline that he has an investment in the future and isn't just Kratosing his way through powerful figures merely for revenge or nihilism, and that he lets a lost child live in his apartment who ends up becoming his main connection to humanity amid the horror and violence. Although we don't know if he does this purely out of altruism, or if there might be some less wholesome reason why a powerful figure with clearly very suppressed emotions should want to keep a beautiful hairless boy in their private rooms. I'm pretty sure it wasn't to swap Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Summer's here, the perfect time for me to indulge in my favourite hobby of admiring Australian open-toed footwear. But for some reason, when I search for thongs on Google image search, all I get are pictures of women's bottoms. Fortunately, I have NordVPN, and by using their intuitive location services, I could get Google to think I was in Australia, thus causing the desired kind of thongs to appear. And with the added data security of using a VPN, I could search safe in the knowledge that hackers aren't judging me for my footwear predilections. Go to nordvpn.com/secondwind and use code SECONDWIND to get an exclusive discount on a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months. Plus, for summer only, Nord will also throw in a voucher for up to 20 gigabytes of data on Saily, their new eSIM service. Think of all the thongs you can admire with that. Stop being one of those poor left-behind suckers who still use physical SIM cards and keep accidentally swallowing them while mistaking them for blotter acid. Remember, the second best way to try NordVPN is by using code SECONDWIND at nordvpn.com/secondwind. The absolute best way is exactly the same, but with your mouth filled with chocolate.